Big D Entertainment, in association with Dipsy Doodle Productions, presents The Dave Holly Hour. Brought to you by TJS Ceramic Studio, Serendipity Studio Gallery and Gifts, Chasers Food and Spirits, Excel Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Jesse Moffitt Entertainment, and the Sioux Falls Arts Council. The Dave Holly Hour features Sioux Empire arts and entertainment conversations. A true lover of arts, entertainment, good food, and fun times, including an occasional Jack Daniels. Okay, so a few Jack Daniels. Here he is, Dave Holly.
Just one more week until we hit another milestone for this show. This is episode number 249. Oh, you're quick, so now you know what next week will be. But not just the 250th episode. October 10th also marks the 5th anniversary. As for this week's show, we catch up with the multi-talented Matt Morrison. As per usual, he has plenty on the calendar. Old Town Dinner Theater Artistic Director John Bowe talks about this season, which is already underway, but with plenty more to come. But first, let's pop the cork on this bubbly little show.
Time to grab your favorite beverage, lift it high, and toast it to being Thursday, a.k.a. Weekend Eve.
Hey, the weekend isn't around the corner, it's here!
So long, hump day and your frumpy way. We say hello to Thursdays with opening nights. The weekend is near and we can see the bright lights. Yes, Thursday, you're so hearty, we can't wait for Friday, so a day early, we start the party.
Whatever you're drinking and whatever you're drinking it out of might very well be determined by where and when you're listening. My choice, as per usual, a Jasper Newton. That's Jack Daniel's Diet Coke with a lime. For you, you might be having a cup of coffee, a spot of tea, a glass of milk, a bottle of water, but then, if you're listening later on, a mug of beer, a cocktail, glass of wine, or a flute of champagne. No matter what it is, though, lift it high and toast it to the times you get to share a libation with a friend. Tuesday night, my love and I went down to Trio Jazz Club. We love the place, first of all. And Jeremy Haig was playing piano that night. And we love Jeremy, too. But that was just the start of what ended up to be a great night. Because we're sitting there, and and I'm having my usual, Jasper Newton. And then Dan Heyer comes in, ends up sitting with us. He's part of the Fellowship Jazz Center, and he's drummer in several jazz ensembles. Comes in, joins us. So here we are, listening to great jazz and talking great jazz. Cheers to you, drummer Dan. You're a good man. Had to make that rhyme because it fits in with what's next. Speaking of cheers, a word that ironically rhymes with beers. Say cheers with a beer or your favorite cocktail at Chasers, West 12th Street and Ellis Road. Make sure you grab some food while you're at it. Join us Monday nights at 7 for Dave Holly Hour Trivia at Chasers. This coming Monday, October 7th, the theme will be Rocktoberfest. Rock music, rocks, gemstones, Oktoberfest, beers. No matter what part of all the Rocktoberfest we talk about, it's guaranteed to be a fun time.
Honorable mention.
Well, what over the past week made Dave laugh, guffaw, chuckle, chortle, giggle, simply smile, or maybe even shed a tear of joy? Last Friday, I played one of my favorite characters, Mr. Potter, for the last taping of the season for Late Night Boomin'. Now, it's just last taping of the season, not like a series finale by any means. And as per usual, it was great fun being part of a locally produced late night show. Already looking forward to putting together some new bits for next year. Later, I'll be talking with Old Town Dinner Theater's John Bowe. In just a minute or two, a man in many musical endeavors, Matt Morrison, on the Dave Holly Hour. Serendipity Studio in downtown Sioux Falls has a great selection of art from local and regional artists, and fun, even spooky. It's the monthly First Friday tomorrow night in downtown Sioux Falls. Serendipity is going to be part of the DTSF Art and Wine Walk with a creepy sneak peek artist reception. Then Saturday, creepy, spooky, eerie, strange rotational exhibit is open. Serendipity Studio in the historic Shriver Square building, downtown Sioux Falls.
Check out the new ceramic studio in Sioux Falls, conveniently located off Kiwanis Avenue on 5th Street. TJS Ceramics inside Oscar's Mini Storage. We have thousands of classic vintage ceramic mold items and several new items too. TJS Ceramics offers classes, special open studio nights, and completed ready-to-purchase items. Bisque studio time or painting parties are available. Visit TJS Ceramics Studio in person today or email tjsceramics@gmail.com for more details.
Ladies, when it's time to give your nails some love, get that extra special treatment from Quality Nails on South Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. Manicures and pedicures that look great and make you feel fantastic. Zaya and Tony provide professional care for your hands and feet, whether you just want the basics or an extra special look with added flair. Oh, and guys, it's okay to treat yourself too. Quality Nails. Call for an appointment. 605-334-1463.
For him, every day is a holly day. Here again, Dave Holly.
Welcome back, everyone. Oh, you know I love talking about Sioux Empire arts and entertainment. It is always a pleasure. And it's always a pleasure to have some great guests back, including Matt Morrison. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Oh, thank you. You know, I was just talking about this with my love last night. It's like, isn't it strange how, you know, your life progresses and your circle of friends and so forth moves around. It becomes larger, it becomes smaller, it becomes more defined the older you are and so forth. Because, you know, here before this podcast started 5 years ago.
Yeah, we weren't on each other's radar at all.
No, we weren't. And then all of a sudden I started the show and we were at an event. In fact, I think we were at Full Circle Book Co-op for Broadcast Theater.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Play. And you came up and introduced yourself to me. It was like, oh, and then, oh, you and your wife just happen to be singers and players and so forth and everything that you can be. And so we hit it off pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've done okay.
We got a lot in common, so that's helpful.
That's true, yeah. And Northwest Iowa kids and the whole works. Sadly, we lost your wife a year ago.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting to watch how you have been since then, too.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing to have to navigate. I was actually thinking on the way over today, this is the first time that I think I've been a guest on the show where I haven't had either Amy or
somebody else.
I pitched in when Tina Jackson came to talk about Midtown stuff when Nick was not available a few years back. But this is my first time flying solo on the show. So it's the first time flying solo for a lot of things.
That's true.
This last year.
And in fact, I haven't been doing many shows since my mother passed just a month or almost 2 months ago now. Wow. And it's just so refreshing to always see your face and to just sit down and chat and have a good time and talk about arts, entertainment, and everything else going on in life. And you mentioned Midtown already. Let's start there.
Sure.
My goodness gracious, we've had some great shows, and we have more great shows coming up yet. And it's going to be a fun time. But we had a summer outdoor show recently over at McKinnon Park.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
Yeah, great turnout, and we could not have asked for better weather. It was just a perfect night. A little humid for those of us that had to schlep gear, but
exactly. However, compare that to the year before when we were outside at McKinnon and going, okay, it's starting to rain just a little bit. Do we call this thing? And then all of a sudden, we're okay to go. But we didn't have to worry a single bit this year. Fantastic. And we also had Andrew Keitlinger on that show. Great to hear from him. And then he's going to be on this show probably in another month.
Wonderful.
Yeah, because he'll be coming back to town for the actual premiere of Lost on a Mountain in Maine. And so that
everything that I've heard from those that have seen it is that it's fantastic.
It is. Yeah. I was in on the secret showing at the State, and I broke one of the rules of the State Theater. You know, you're not supposed to take pictures of the film or anything. but when my name came up in credits, I kind of had to at least have proof that once upon a time I did something.
Right.
All right. And then we started the summer with Midtown in a huge fashion.
Yes. Another perfect night out at the Levitt. Yeah.
6,500 people.
Yes. Yeah.
Have all our other shows
added up to
that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So it was fun to be in front of a big crowd and an awesome show once again. And that just keeps on rolling.
Yeah.
What do you think our success is for that?
Honestly,
going?
Yeah, I think the thing that people find when they come to a Midtown show is just this sense of belonging, this sense of community. There is this very approachable spirit that I think all of us carry into those settings, and to see people continue to come back is one thing, but to see them bringing other people because they just can't help but want to share this special thing that we've got going on is just, I think that's been a huge part of it. And obviously we are who we are, and we make no apologies for it. There are times with it being a recording of a live radio style show. There are a few times that we've had to pump the brakes, and we've had to start again and go from there.
And by the way, that is the mascot of everything under the Big D umbrella. Sir Charles Edward David of Firefly, better known as just Charlie. But Charlie has been with us now for a little over a month and is finding his voice and thinks that he can speak up anytime that he wishes. He's been on 2 podcasts now.
He's adorable.
That he is. And when we host trivia, we usually end up taking him out to that as well.
Oh, nice.
And so it's kind of fun. Boy, he's just going to be a whole part of this interview today, isn't he? All right. But so we've got that thing going on with everything for Midtown. And then you ended up becoming a partner with a good friend of ours, Katie Reed.
Yep.
Common Ground. You are now the other half of Common Ground.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, it was, obviously I was in a position, Amy and I had done 2 White Squares for several years, and it was something that we started not because we needed another thing to do, but I always joked that if I wanted to spend time with her, I needed to schedule a rehearsal. And so we kind of started for that reason, and we just had so much fun doing that, and it was something that we just did more for us than we did for anybody else. And we're just so thankful that other people would listen in. And Katie found herself in need of a duet partner as well.
Right.
And so, we began having conversation at the beginning of the year to sort of get a feel for where we might find that common ground and find that space where we could be actually a good fit together. Mm-hmm. And it's gone well. It's taken some time for us to sort of figure each other out a little
meld
bit. Because Katie is a very different person than Amy was, and musically we don't share decades of of shared history and language and experience, and so it's taken some time for us to find our voice together. But I feel like things are going really, really well. I love that. She's so easy to sing with, very adaptable, and we are all over the map in terms of the music that we do. Everything from Elvis and Johnny Cash to Billie Eilish and other more recent stuff. So it's kind of a mix of everything. And I get to scratch that multi-instrumental. It's just a little mostly guitar, a little uke, and some foot percussion. So I still have those pieces going, and I can definitely see us just continuing to add, and continuing to find opportunities to be together to do that. So,
but it is a process. You and I have talked during this because Katie had asked me if I knew of anybody, and so I said, well, Matt Morrison, and so then I kind of put you two together, and your first conversation, I think you were a little bit leery because you didn't know if you needed to be a better guitar player.
Sure. Well, and I make no bones about the fact that I'm basically a glorified rhythm player. My strength as a musician isn't in what I bring to any particular aspect or any particular instrument. It's the fact that I know my limits within those instruments, and I can hopefully create within that space something that supports whatever project I'm a part of.
And that seems to be going quite well for you now. And very happy to see that for both you and for Katie, that, she was able to continue that because she did have some gigs lined up, and now you're getting more and more. So that's a great thing to have. And if I'm not mistaken, You're going to be in another little show.
I got a few coming up.
You've got a few coming up, actually.
Yeah, because we have Midtown on the 24th. We've got our little coffee shop of horrors show coming up on October 24th at Icon, which will be a blast.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to be a part of the band supporting the After Hours Cabaret for Goodnight Theater Collective in the middle of November, which will be a lot of fun. I was originally hoping to play bass because I was the original Goodnight Theater Collective bass player.
Mm-hmm.
And last season I didn't get to play bass once. No. Well, part of that was self-selected, but that's another story for another time. And but I really pitched hard to be able to play bass for this particular cabaret. And then Luke Tatchy approached me and he said, in listening to the set list, there's a lot of trumpet stuff. And that's what my background is. That's the one thing that I have a piece of paper that says I should be able to play that. But I'm not in shape for that most of the time. So I kind of have to ramp up for that. But I know what it takes to do a Goodnight Theater Collective Cabaret as a band member. And I know that a trumpet player within that setting is going to have to put in even more work. Mm-hmm. And so it just made sense for me to make that shift. So I'm doing that, but then also hopefully adding some other instruments to fill in some gaps on things that don't have trumpet parts. And honestly, the playlist for this show is unreal. You cannot listen to this playlist and not be in the best mood of your life. It is so much fun because it's all dance club music from the 70s on through today. So it's just a great mix of songs. And I love the singers that we have a part of it. There's going to be featured dancers as a part of this one as well, which will be a new touch. And the band is just rock solid, top to bottom. So it's going to be a very fun show. And then I get to turn the corner into the Christmas season and get to be a part of Goodnight Theater Collective's production of A Christmas Story, the musical. So that'll be fun. I get to be the narrator. I get to be Adult Ralphie.
Yes, the Adult Ralphie. Yeah. I'm looking forward to all of the above. Now, are you able to fit in the Vaughties?
Yes,
you are.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, so, we do have that one too.
Yes, the 12th of November, and really anticipating a great show because we have a huge lineup for that particular show. Need to find a venue for sure yet, but we'll get that taken care of. The small things, don't sweat the small things. But it's going to be fantastic, and looking forward to having you in that. But I also just every time that we do a Midtown show, I have told Tyson Khan, the drummer, this several times that I have the best seat in the house because while you guys are playing and singing, I can look around at all of you and see this pure joy that is coming through you musically. And it's just the smiles that are on the faces and so forth. And there's always at one point that I'll look back to Tyson and he'll look and just give me kind of one of those wink nods and so forth. And I guess it always reminds me of what was the name of the song? Or not the name of the song, but the movie that Tom Hanks was the manager of them.
Oh, yeah, that thing
the
you do.
Eaters, that thing you do. Thank you. Yeah, I always get a little mixed up on the title of that. But, the one guy that's the leader and the drum player, and Steve Zahn's character looks back and says, Stitch, how did we get here? Because I am. Oh, see, now I'm forgetting another name, too. Spartacus, because he loved that. But it was just when I look back, and it kind of gives that wink, it's like, that's it. It's just that there's this magical group that has come together. It's been added to. Steve Payne is now playing guitar for us as well. And when we added Crystal Peterson early on and got that fiddle, and it is just so amazing when you hear her play, because it's like, yeah, okay, well, this was a rock song, but wow.
Yeah.
That is really cool way to approach it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just find it fascinating. Every time, whatever the theme is, it keeps just getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
And
well,
looking forward to that.
There's definitely something to be said for having spent so much time together. There's that trust that we build up, that ability to read each other and to just be able to intuit where things are going to go. And that's, I've noticed that forever on the vocal end of things, because with Martin and Wade, we have such great lead vocalists, regardless of which one is singing. And I'm always tasked with trying to find that third harmony part. And I've had to get to the point where I can almost read their physicality to know what register they're going to sing in, so that I know where I'm going to slot in.
Right.
Because our process is such a quick turnaround that there are times that we've done, this may only be the fourth time that we've ever sung these songs together. And each time we were experimenting and trying things, and we get to the show and I'm trying to guess which way a certain harmony section is going to go. And I have to be able to adapt to that on the fly. And it's a fun challenge. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it's obvious on your face that you're having a good time too. And that's one of the things that I love about you is just being able to go, we're in good shape. Matt's here. But I think we could say that about every single person in that group.
For sure.
And it just makes such a great difference. And I think that Sir Charles may have gotten a hold of the Vaughty's mugs or something. Is it orange?
He's got a cup.
Yep. Yeah, he got one. Okay. Well, he deserves one. He is the mascot. Got to pay him something. But you can only have water in yours. You, on the other hand, I'm guessing will probably enjoy a craft beer of some sort.
More than likely.
How did you get so into the craft beer scene?
Yeah, well, I came to it actually pretty early. When I was in college at USD, there really wasn't a craft beer scene in South Dakota at all. But there was one bar that had a decent number of imports, and so I started experimenting a little bit more with that. And then we went straight from undergraduate to grad school at Northern Colorado.
Yeah.
Whole different scene.
Yes.
And
having lived in that city myself.
Yes. Yeah. So it was a pretty easy shift for me to make from trying to experiment and figure out what I liked on the import side to all of a sudden having all these variations within these tighter confines of specific styles of beers to find out, okay, well, what style do I really enjoy? Not so much.
So what style do you really enjoy?
Oh man, that's really seasonal. It really is. Obviously this time of year, a good Oktoberfest, a Marzen is hard to pass up. I'm usually good. I mean, my like all year, if there's nothing else on the menu that I like, I'll probably go for a hazy IPA or an IPA. Winter months, I'm definitely leaning more stouts, porters. Although I can do a barrel-aged stout pretty much at the drop of a hat, just because there's so much more that goes into that art. Not only do you have to make a good beer, but you have to figure out the process of what barrel is it going to go in, how long do you keep it in there, and what properties of what was in there previously is that beer going to take on because of it. So it's always an interesting thing to look at. And I'm very fortunate to have several friends who are excellent homebrewers. And so I've been very spoiled to be around great people who like great beer and have given me opportunity to experience things that I might not have come across otherwise.
And I do believe that one of our mutual friends in that business is now moving on and experimenting with spirits.
Yes.
Yes. So then I'll be able to benefit too. So when it comes to imports and then the domestics, so kind of a two-parter here, are there particular breweries that you like that that when you see it up there, but it might be a new beer that they're brewing, you go, oh, gotta try it. It's from such and such.
Oof, man, that's a tough one. That could be a conversation all on its own. As far as imports, though, I do tend to lean more towards Belgian ales and Flemish sours and those types. So almost anytime I see something like that, I'm definitely going to want to give that a shot. There's not necessarily any particular brewery that I look to for those, but there's it's just a style that is so underrepresented in our neck of the woods. There are certain places in town that carry just about everything, but there's nothing Belgian or even a domestic Belgian style on their shelves, which is crazy to me because it's such a fun style. But yeah, as far as domestic brands, I mean, I'm probably always going to enjoy something from Founders. I'm probably always going to enjoy to certain degrees, some of what you see from, oh man, I'm drawing a blank. I can see their cans plain as day. They specialize more in sours, and I know that anytime I see Prairie Artisan Ales is always going to be a good solid sour. Locally, I'm a huge fan of Wood Grain, not only because I have friends in the mix there,
but they do a very nice job,
and they do a great job with a wide variety of styles, which is a hard thing to pull off. Covert here in town, I mean, they just make unbelievably good beer across the board as well.
All right, two things to throw in here from my standpoint. I know it's not a craft beer, but in terms of an import, I'm a big Beck's fan.
Sure.
Yeah, love that. That's a great beer. And then on the domestic side, when we had gone down to Nashville last October, and on the way back, we stopped in St. Louis. And we decided to go out and, have some ribs because there's great barbecue down in St. Louis. And then after that, it's like, let's just walk around a little bit. We come upon this combination bowling alley theater, and they have quite the selection of brews. But the funniest thing on the menu was local beers. Budweiser, Bud Light. Straight from about 8 blocks that way.
Yeah. I always crack up when I'm eating at a restaurant downtown and I ask what they have on tap, and we've got a few local beers too, and they start to name them off. I'm like, I know you're going to have Lion's Paw. I know you're going to have Queen Bee. I know you're going to. I know which ones you mean. Just tell me which ones you have.
Right. Yeah. How often do you get asked then? Because obviously you've been around them enough that they probably all know you really enjoy a craft beer. But how often do they say, well, have you ever had a craft beer before? Or
thankfully, I don't get that. Well, and especially with as prevalent as they are anymore, it's a little harder to find someone who hasn't had something.
True. Yeah.
And you will occasionally get do you prefer a craft beer or domestic? You might get that question, but that's about.
Or you like IPAs or different things like that. All right. We got a little off track in terms of arts and entertainment, but we really didn't though, because name a brewery in town or a craft beer bar that doesn't have some sort of entertainment associated with it.
Sure.
And try to think back maybe 15, 20 years ago, how very little live music there was, because there just weren't venues for it. And now all of them are saying, hey, we got room. We could have Common Ground set up here, or we can do trivia, movie nights, all different karaoke.
Yeah.
Think of the places that do karaoke now versus 20 years ago. And it's just so amazing to see that has been the growth. And I'm always amazed by taking a look at our Sioux Empire area and how arts and entertainment has grown. Now, what year did you guys move here?
We would have moved back to the area 2005.
2005. Yeah. Okay, so we're coming up on 20 years that you've been around. Because let's see, I first moved to Sioux Falls in 1998, something along that line. And, I grew up close down in Rock Rapids. And when I was in high school and, had that first official date where you can drive up to Sioux Falls and go to a movie and to Taco John's.
Right.
And at that time, population was 68,000. Now it's 218. But, basically, you could go to movies. They had community theater, but nobody really talked about it. You didn't hear much about it. And if you were lucky, you went to the symphony once a year, mostly for the Christmas show.
Right.
Because quite often that was an actual field trip in school to go up for something like that. But there wasn't this total expansion of solo artists, duets, small combos. We didn't have a trio jazz club.
Right. Yep.
And all those wonderful things that have come along. And, I attribute a lot of the growth, not so much to the music industry, but to arts in general, for when they put in the sculpture walk.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think is so good about Sioux Falls that this happens?
I think there's an openness to a variety of different experiences. I mean, there's just seeing how many theater companies have come out of the woodwork in the last several years and are able to find an audience. And of course, I mean, we're all in support of one another. We all want, rising tide raises all boats. It's like we definitely live into that, I think, in a lot of ways. And it's been fun to see all of these things begin to emerge. So I think there's the sense that there's just an environment that's fertile for creativity and that's willing to give voice to artists in ways that maybe a lot of other communities might not experience. We don't need to have a narrow path. Right. There's enough variety in terms of tastes and styles and things like that within the population that we have, to where a variety of artists can find kind of their piece of that and can find their people.
Well, another category, comedy. Mm-hmm. Comics will tell you that we have it great here because everybody supports each other. And if there's criticism, it's constructive criticism. Hey, what if you took the punchline, moved it here, and then made this the punchline?
Yeah.
And then you can use this as a callback later and so forth. And they will tell you, you go out to, even down to Des Moines, Minneapolis, Denver, Chicago, regionally, it's cutthroat.
Sure.
Yeah. And, people are there for themselves. They're not there to be part of a good comedy scene that's going on. So I just really appreciate all of that. And same goes with our visual artists. And, we're getting more galleries all the time. Yeah. So it's just always a great thing to know that we have had good growth, not just growth. Sometimes people go, well, we bumped up this amount. But then they'll say, but then the crime rate went, and things like that. It's like, we've done okay in handling all of it.
Sure.
And very thankful that now we have even a good cohort of ours. One of our colleagues, Marin, is an official, I guess I would say she's a liaison for all of the arts in City Hall now. And I'm very much looking forward to the things that she is thinking about and hoping they all come to fruition. And because I think it's just going to be amazing.
Yeah.
That what the things that she wants to have happen will benefit everybody.
Yeah. And having someone that understands artists and understands kind of that appeal within an artistic community rather than someone who's simply an administrator for a department is a huge, having someone that's an advocate instead of an administrator only is a game changer.
And a participant.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's a good thing. What else is going on for you then in terms of arts and entertainment?
Yeah. Well, I think the other big thing for me is just continuing work with Effervescent Voice Academy and continuing to build that up. It was a studio that my late wife, Amy, started. She actually taught the first lesson for Effervescent 2 months to the day before she passed. Oh. And but it was something that she had spent a couple of years putting the foundation together for. It's a vision that she had that it was really sound. We knew that it was a need in town because Amy had been a teacher in town for years and years and years and was turning people away for lessons every single week. Yeah. And so we knew that there was a need for more teachers. Yeah. And so her desire was to create a space with several of her former students as instructors, where it could be more of a community approach. So instead of I'm a student of Amy Morrison or I'm a student of Mo Plasto or Court Anderson or Maya Morrison, all of our different teachers, you're a student of Effervescent Voice Academy. And our desire is to connect you with the resource that's most appropriate for the next step that you want to take as an artist. So if you're a jazz singer who's taking lessons with Maya, because Maya is kind of our point person for that, but you're getting ready to audition for a musical theater production, she might say, go schedule your next lesson with Mo, because Mo will be able to talk audition repertoire. She'll be able to talk about audition techniques, things to keep in mind as you go in there, because Maya doesn't do that. And so for us to be able to have that as a shared resource, and we show up to shows for our students. We were actually just at Freaky Friday for Premiere Playhouse on Sunday, which is a great show, great job. And we had 4 of our students that were involved in that. And so to be able to go and celebrate them and make a fuss over them and let them know that, hey, we're here for you. We see you. We're so proud of what you're doing. It's been fun to hear reports from some of our students that are now at college that are auditioning for things and are letting us know how well they're doing and how Effervescent was a part of that story for them as well. So that's been fun. And then we've got we're still beginning to put the pieces in place for different workshops. We actually have one coming up that my daughter Maya is going to be leading called Hear with Your Ear, which is going to be kind of an ear training course that's designed for learning how to harmonize. So if you hear a song, you'll have some tools to be able to say, well, where would that harmony part be? Because for some people, I mean, for Maya, that is like second nature. Partially because she had 2 parents who that's very second nature. But Maya also has the theory and the understanding musically of what's happening, and is actually a very good teacher. And so it's a 4-session class that'll begin on Monday, October 21st. And very much looking forward to seeing some folks kind of connect with that and seeing how that begins to equip people in different ways. We're still putting pieces in place to do like a basic music theory one called What the F is Music for Effervescent. Yeah, Amy had a great sense of humor.
Yeah, she did.
And she knew that no one would be able to spell effervescent. So our website is effmyvoice.com. And it's that kind of fun and that kind of spirit that carries the ethos of things. And Amy's spirit is so prevalent in that space and in the work that our teachers are doing. And I'm so proud of them.
I know, because you got, polka dots and you've got the colors and everything else. So it's nice and bright and a definite reminder of her. But just a great place to walk into anyway.
Yeah. It's just a fun space.
Yeah. And so I might have to take you up on one of those because, I did at the age of 58, I'll be 62 here in 2 months. But at the age of 58, I knew I had a good speaking voice, and I love to sing, but mostly just karaoke because I can't remember anything. So I've got to see the words on the screen. And it's like, but I've got the same 5 songs all the time because I've only got 8 notes. She got me to 16. So
nice.
Yeah. So that's helped. I have a few more things I can add into it now.
Yeah.
But to also have just the utmost respect for everybody you have working there right now at Effervescent.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see the growth of that as well.
Yeah. Well, again, Amy's vision for it was sound. The need was there. And we're in a position right now where we can be really patient and allow it to grow the way that it needs to.
Right.
And it's been such a joy to see so many of our clients in shows with several different theater companies in the area, and to just be able to go and celebrate them and see that growth. And it very much like when I would hear Amy teaching lessons at the house, I'm home at a certain time. I hear I hear certain people over and over and over, and I can hear the progress. And that's been true down at the studio as well. Those that are kind of locked in on a time where I happen to be down there. It's amazing how I've seen students walk in that have trouble matching pitch, that after several months are really pretty solid on that, and are actually expanding their range and really growing as singers. And it's so fun too, because Amy was a teacher for so many of our teachers, to hear her methods and her techniques and even her words coming out of their mouths is it just brings me great joy.
So those are the type that when they go on American Idol or they go on The Voice, they're not going to hear the judges say, you got a little bit pitchy in that. It's like it's their fallback.
Right.
If they couldn't find anything else. Well, there was a little bit of pitchiness. Right. Okay. Let's talk one more thing here. Trio.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Have you been yet? And
I have not.
You have not?
I have not. I'm hoping to go here shortly. I've got a friend that's playing down there, so I'm hoping to go check them out soon. But I've been down there for drinks, and it's a beautiful space. I love the space. and know the Tirabelsis from having kids at All City Elementary together, and so have spent time with them. And Amy and I had played our wine bar several times, and just think the world of their family and the job that they've done in creating these spaces and creating great experiences in Sioux Falls that are very unique, that you're not going to find in most other places around town. And to hear how well things are going at Trio, to know that they're selling out shows, that it's very tight to get in there sometimes, has been a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, in fact, tonight we're headed there, and it's going to be the because we both have haircut appointments. Mine, of course, won't take long at all, so I'm going to do mine first, and then I'm going to walk up there and get a seat,
right?
And be in the building at least before, because otherwise it does become a little bit tough in that regard. But that was all by design. And, the great thing with Ricardo was you talk to him, and between him and Kevin Nyberg, I don't know who could be the businessman of the year more often.
Sure.
And the best thing is, those are local businessmen.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's just so fun to see how things are always moving along and expanding. And because Carrie and I had been down to Omaha, in the past year. There was one time we were going down there, didn't have any plans. So it's like, well, just, go to the jazz clubs. Well, at that time, the 3 main jazz clubs had all shut down.
Oh.
And thankfully, I had Matt Wallace's number, and so I texted him and said, you playing anywhere this weekend? He sends me back this poster. Just happened to be the Haig brothers, Scrambled Haigs, with their musical family from Omaha, playing a block and a half from the hotel we were at. It's like, okay, we got that at least.
Yeah.
So that was a good time. But I'm just so happy to see that we have a jazz club again.
Yes, yeah, and I would love to get there more often. Part of my problem is that I always seem to be in a rehearsal, in a performance, or covering down at the studio. So it's hard for me to get to a lot of things. I have to put it on my calendar several weeks in advance if I hope to be able to organize things for me to actually be able to be there. All right, and what are you playing in next? The very next thing would be Midtown. Our show on October 24th. So yeah. So I'm all right. And in the meantime, I'm doing all my homework to be ready for the next cabaret with Goodnight Theater Collective. Yeah. And Katie and I, I'm sure, will be in touch about what we're planning on doing for the Vaudies. And so we got some good things coming up. That's fantastic. Always a great time chatting with you. Of course, you know the routine that's been in the past of, when you're not involved, arts and entertainment, what do you like to be entertained by, other hobbies, and so forth? Mm-hmm. Well, I want to go with, what's your word? Ooh, I think my word for this year has been intentionality. Just really trying to focus in, because I get a lot of opportunities to do a lot of really great things, and my calendar is really active. Very. And because of that, I have to be very intentional with how I spend my time. I have to be very intentional to carve out time with friends. I'm very fortunate that my kids go to church with me, and we have family dinner after church every Sunday. So we kind of have that carved out together. And so, just being as intentional as I can possibly be, because if I'm not, I'll burn myself out and I'll leave people behind. And I really don't want to do that. All right. Great to chat with you, Matt. Always. Great word. And we'll be back with more of the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Comedy magician and hypnotist Jesse Moffat's right. He can't play the piano, but he can sure entertain crowds with his amazing magic and clever quips. His shows always make the participants the stars, especially when they've fallen asleep on stage. They've been hypnotized. Are you the party planner in your group? Then you owe it to your group to make the event magical, even if it puts you to sleep. Here's how.
For booking information, go to Jesse Moffitt Entertainment on Facebook. That's JESSEMOFFITT. Or call 605-929-0964.
Are you an artist? Need some funding to further your art? There's a great opportunity for you through a Sioux Falls Arts Council program. The Artist Microgrant Program gives away several microgrants to local artists, no matter what art discipline you're in. Unlike more traditional grants, a microgrant is very easy to apply for. Go to artssiouxfalls.org. If you haven't done so yet, create a listing on the Artist Directory, which is beneficial in its own way. Then go to the Artist Microgrants page and apply online. The process is simple. Find out more about the Sioux Falls Arts Council as well online at artssiouxfalls.org.
The Dave Holly Hour, like eavesdropping on a great conversation between two very interesting people.
Welcome back. Yes, it is a pleasure to talk Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment. Yes, I do say that at the beginning of every conversation because it's just part of it. It's the way that it happens because I like to say it because it's so damn true. And it's also great to have this man back in the studio. It's been a while, John Bowe.
How are you?
I'm doing well, and you?
I'm excellent.
Glad to hear that. So you are in the midst of one show. You have cast the next, and we've not even really had a chance to talk about this season at Old Towne in the theater yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah, it's just been so busy. It's amazing how quickly summer went by, and it used to be that summer, you had a downtime, but camps and everything else that you have going on. And by the way, the front and everything else at Old Towne's looking fantastic.
Thank you.
And so I really enjoyed that after having gone this past weekend to see the show. And great to see some friends in that and lots of returning players from OTDT and laughed a lot.
Good.
Yeah. And of course, had an absolutely exceptional meal. People, if you have never been down to Old Towne Dinner Theater, get your tickets. Get off your rump, go down there, and you will experience a phenomenal meal. Oh, and they throw in a great show as well. And you will be so impressed that you'll probably do the same thing that we do every year and go, oh, yeah, when do season tickets go on sale? All right, so great to have you in the studio once again. So let's talk about things. So first show, how has it been so far?
Oh, it's been great. The crew of actors I got for this one, it's fun when you get done with an audition and you toil over who to cast where. And then when you finally step back and take a breath, you're like, everyone is exactly where they need to be.
Right.
This, I couldn't have done it better from who I had.
Yeah. And so great to be able to see that for the importance of being earnest. Well cast once again. I just don't know who actually stole the show or not. When you get a strong personality like Devin Bassart in there, it's tough not for that character to be loved by everybody. I mean, the whole cast was great. And we've got some good friends. Well, first of all, Devin, but then also Mar and Alex. Because Mar used to be our downstairs neighbor here. And so got to know her and Alex over the past few years. And I thought that was one of Mar's best performances and just was so happy for her because you take a look at Mar and you've seen her in a few things and she's had some decent parts, but man, she made that part.
Yeah.
And Alex made his and Dave with the butlers, the two different butlers, got a kick out of that too. And let's see, we had Ruthie Potteritz in there as well. So just a great cast. Did I miss anybody?
Well, Charity, she's new to Old Towne.
That's right.
Charity Olsen.
Yeah.
But she's done some theater in the area.
Yeah.
She was, this last year, she was in the Savoy Theater Company's show, Pirates of Penzance.
Okay. Yeah. But fantastic. So, as always, great show that goes on. And, we talk about it. And, of course, there is the great tie-in that we can say it's your bread and butter since it is a dinner theater. But you have a particular type of show that always is going to be fun and it's always going to be something that the crowd can relate to. What's the picking process like for you when it comes to a season?
Well, there's a number of us on the programming committee, and we're all always looking for shows. And, you know, it's gotten to the point after all these years where as I'm reading a show, I can feel whether I think it's an Old Town show or not. You know, there's a lot of shows I like, but, you know, you get to the point where like, I don't know that this will fly at Old Town or people won't necessarily like this one, but you're reading a show and it's great when you're really enjoying it, and it also feels like an Old Town show. That's kind of the goal, where it's gotta hit some certain beats, some certain buttons that we know our patrons will enjoy. And then like with this one, it's something a little bit different in that it's, you know, it's a slightly older show. The language is a little different. So it's not too big a departure from the usual, but it throws them a little bit of a curveball.
So how early do you start picking the shows? So here you are in this season. So when next season comes around, at what point will the slate for that be in place?
Well, we'll start throwing around plays immediately. Like, I guess I can't give anything away here, but we've already got our fall show for next year decided.
Okay.
But we're, you know, constantly passing plays back and forth, and we'll have our first meeting probably November, December, and then we'll have everything actually decided sometime in January, so it can be announced at the February show.
Wow. You know, the forethought that you have to have going into everything is just something that amazes me all the time. And the fact that forethought is correct so often is even better. So what else do we have coming up this season?
Well, the next show is called Seasonal Allergies. It's about basically about a big family. I mean, there's a couple family friends in there, but they're kind of the friends who are like family. But family,
I call those people family.
Yeah. Kind of your chosen family. So where one of them is going through a divorce and is decided to cancel on their yearly Thanksgiving tradition. And so at first everyone's grumbling about that, but then he shows up and ends up moving in for a little while because, you know, he lost his house in the divorce. And there's, you know, some tension there between him and his sister, it's her and her husband's house that he starts crashing in. And, but it's kind of one of those, I don't even want to call it a dramatic comedy, but it's mostly a comedy with some dramatic elements. So it's, you know, somewhat heartwarming in there too. So it's a good show for the holidays where you can laugh. And then, I mean, I don't know that you'll cry, but you'll definitely be moved a little bit.
All right. Oh, sounds intriguing already. And I think the other thing that's really intriguing for me, well, first of all, you're directing that one as well, correct?
Correct.
But you'll be directing yourself again.
Yes, I will.
And your son.
Yep.
Yeah. And what's that going to be like? I know that, you know, you've done some stuff before, but not on a main stage production, has it?
Nope. He's been in our kids camp the last couple summers. But yeah, this is he's wanted to do a regular Old Town show for a little while. And it was actually Phyllis Stotts. I don't know if you know Phyllis.
No.
She lives out in Custer, but she's done a number of shows at Old Town.
Okay.
She's a real theater person. She suggested this show. And after I read it, I thought, oh, Jackson would be great in this show. And, you know, I never precast shows, but I also am realistic.
You're human. You're going to be reading it and go, oh, I know who could fit in that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you have to go, okay, I'm not going to precast it, but could I cast it? Because you can't do a show, you know, for, you know, like with children, if you don't know for sure that you have a child that can do
capable,
it.
Right.
So I mean, so seeing that and enjoying the show so much, definitely was excited to do it. And then he ended up being the only child to audition, so it made it real easy. But I did have Andy Steinhaus was my co-casting director, because knowing that he was going to audition, I know he and Juniper are probably the two people that I couldn't be completely unbiased in casting. So,
right.
I needed an extra voice there to go, just in case, to make sure I was making the right decision. But no, I mean, again, I'm biased, but I think he's great. The last, like I said, in the summers, he's been great when he has 2 weeks to, and his audition scene, he read through, I think he did it twice. By the second one, he was almost off book on it. So I'm like, yeah, he'll be fine with the lines.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I even had to tell him, like, please look at the lines, because just in case you miss something, but you don't have to be off book right now. It's just auditions.
Boy, that's thriving at that age.
Oh,
in fact, what age is he now?
11.
11. So you've got an 11-year-old that is nearly off book. That has to make the job easier, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's and he's so excited for it. I've already had to read through lines with him. We don't start rehearsals until the 9th. We have our read through, but he dove right in immediately, and he's very excited to do it. So it's one of those things where when I was an actor, my big fear was being the problem child on off book night. And going into this one, I was like, well, I really don't want him to be the one who doesn't have his lines down. And immediately my fears went away. I'm like, yeah, he'll be good. He'll be off book by the time we start blocking.
Right. Now, he knew he was the only child that auditioned? Yep. Okay, so it wasn't a huge surprise to him, but still, what was his excitement level like?
Oh, well, leading up to auditions, he was super nervous because he had, he didn't know who was going to show up. And even so, he came the second day. So first day, he knew, there weren't any kids. And so like the whole day of the second day before auditions, he's just like super nervous. Like he told me like he was scared that some other kid was going to show up who's better than he was, and started listing off other kids from camp who he thought was better than he was. Well, what if they show up? And what if they show up? I'm like you just need to be confident in your abilities. Don't worry about what anyone else can do.
Right. Yeah. Control what you can control.
And so, yeah, once auditions started, I think you breathed a sigh of relief going, okay, well, I'm the only 11-year-old. I did tell him that I have been known to cast my brother Dave in a lot younger roles.
True.
Because, when we did On Golden Pond, he was 22 and I needed a 12-year-old, and we fudged it to 14, but he played
did
that role.
Did he shave?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because Dave is a very thick beard. So like when he worked for a restaurant, if he shaved in the morning, he'd have to shave it again before going into work.
Yeah.
So he had to shave right before the show.
Oh, that'll be funny. Well, if I didn't have seen that one, that would have been funny, because your brother is a character no matter what.
Yeah. Well, and he's also in Seasonal Allergies.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up. But, I think I saw that on the cast list. And Cicely Fogarty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she and I are going to be working on a project here in the next week or two.
Excellent.
Yeah. And so when I saw her name come up, it's like, oh, congrats. I've seen her act at a couple of shows. And then we were in a video shoot together, a couple of them actually. And it's just like, she's a really good actress that, people aren't aware of very much yet. So I'm going to be very excited to see how that role goes for her.
Well, one thing I love about Cecily, and I've had a few people like this, where she came out and did a show when she was not young, but, a number of years ago.
Right.
And getting to see her progression, because then she didn't come back for about 3 or 4 years, and then it's been another 3 years since then. So each time she's just getting better and better. And I mean, she started out at a really good point. So it's fun to see that trajectory of people.
Right. And that has to be one of the most rewarding parts of your job, is seeing that progress. Not just, during the course of the play, in the course of the show, but in the course of people's total shows that they do with you.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've had a number of people where it's either their first show or their first show in a long time, or, maybe their second or third, they're still pretty new to it. And then getting to work with them, later and seeing, things that you worked on with them are just automatically there still. And then some that they've either worked on themselves or gotten from another director, where you see it building, and you see that they're actually retaining it. Because as a director, you throw a lot in an actor, and so it's not unheard of that some of the stuff won't take a lasting effect after the show is done. But when you see that they care enough to keep doing it, it's, like I said, it's rewarding.
Right. Well, and it's a big commitment at Old Town, because how many weekends do they typically run?
We do 5 weekends of the shows and about 6.5 weeks rehearsal. So it's about 3 months of a commitment.
Yeah, that's a good chunk of time. Do you ever have trouble convincing somebody of that part?
Not usually. It's usually if they show up to audition, they're
aware of it.
They're aware of it. Like for the Christmas show, we've historically had lower numbers at auditions, just because it's every weekend in December, and most people have at least one conflict in there. So, and this year, because of where Christmas, normally we take a weekend off around Christmas, but where Christmas falls this year, we don't take a weekend off. So we'll have a show Sunday, get Christmas Eve, Christmas done by Wednesday, back on Thursday.
Yeah. Any pickup rehearsal in between?
Probably not. It always depends on the cast. Like if lines have been an issue leading up to opening, I'll definitely want to pick up rehearsal. But if we're rock solid, then I'm like, I'd rather give them that time to rest and recoup than to try to force another rehearsal in there.
So what else is coming up after the first of the year then?
A show called Ripcord. It's about this kind of crotchety old lady who's forced to become roommates with a very upbeat old lady, and all the conflict and hilarity that ensues.
I'm already envisioning some of the people that could be in that. And then closing out the year,
Play On. It's kind of in the same vein as like Noises Off, or The Play That Goes Wrong, where it's a show about doing a show and all the things that can happen during a show that maybe audiences never know about. But
that's the thing that you have to keep in mind, both as a director or as an actor, is the fact that majority of people are not going to know the error. They're not going to know it. And then the other thing that I'll always remember, our mutual friend Toby Kane, I remember one of the first times I did an improv show with him, the first thing he told us before we went out is 95% of the people in the audience do not have the guts to do what you're about to do, so they're going to love you regardless. And I always keep that in the back of my mind. Obviously, though, when it comes to the community theater around here, and I don't just mean the community theater, but, the whole community, Sioux Empire, everything else that's involved in it, you are going to have actors and directors that are there. And do you ever fear if they get a little critical, or do you just take it in stride?
Try to take it in stride. And depending on who it is, if someone I really respect, it's nice. Like, I can learn from their feedback as well, as as long as it's nice and constructive,
right?
Not like, oh, that sucked. But so, it's something that was instilled in me at a young age to want that criticism, because that's the only way you get better. So I try to, because we have comment cards that people can fill out.
Right.
I try to look at them through that lens, where if it's a good constructive comment, I'll stop and think, no idea who gave it, but I'll at least think about it and process it. And it's just, it's difficult when they're either negative or very non-specific.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I look at all the comment cards at some point and think through them if, like I said, if it's a good constructive comment.
One of the memes over the past few years that I've just loved is the one that says, why would you take criticism from someone you wouldn't seek the advice of? So I always keep that in the back of my mind. It's like, is that somebody that you're really concerned about? But obviously, if it's anonymous, then it's a little different. You have to kind of sort through it more.
Oh yeah, definitely grain of salt.
So what's the greatest advice or critique in this case that you've had that you said, they're right, and I need to change this?
Well, it's something that happened very early on, and it was one of those things that I knew I'd been told before, but just had kind of let go of. Because in my first few years as artistic director, I was focusing on a lot, and someone said they just don't seem like they're having fun, and that's something I drilled in my cast. Now, like right before opening, I'll say the most important thing: make sure you're having fun.
Yeah,
because that's why we do it. That's the reason they're all there. I mean, they're not making money. I mean, they get some food and a stipend. But when it comes down to it, they do it because they love it, and that's something we can't forget, because that's why people get involved in theater to begin with. And it wasn't that I'd lost it necessarily, but I was so focused on everything else, I had forgot to mention it. And, a lot of casts, you wouldn't have to say it, but
true.
When they're, what shows where you're throwing a lot of critiques in there. And I take very detailed notes, especially before we open. So especially if someone is less experienced, I mean, if I have a cast of, people who are a little less experienced, when I get to my detailed notes, I might have pages and pages, and if for me, like, that was always great. Like I said, learning to love the criticism, but especially people who are new, they can take it as, oh, I'm messing it up. That's why he's saying that. And so, yeah, that's another thing I try to emphasize as well. It's like, you're not doing it bad. This is just me getting an idea of how we can tweak it to make it even better. And so, yeah, don't forget to have fun. That's, I mean, if you ask any of the casts I've had for probably the last 5 years or more, they'll say, yeah, that's what I emphasize right before we open.
So what types of things do you do to make a rehearsal fun?
Well, we've done a Jungle Rules before. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
No, I'm not.
Where the rule is you have to make all of your entrances and exits and say all of your lines and not add any lines. But other than that, anything goes. Costume-wise, voices. We had one rehearsal for The Importance of Being Earnest where Chercy, I think, went through about 5 or 6 different accents. At one point, she was like a robot. And so it's a good way to get everything in that needs to get in and blow off some steam. And again, remind people why they do it.
Yeah. When it comes to after a show's closed, big relief or, okay, gotta get ready for the next one?
It's always weird because, like, for in seasonal allergies, I started working on auditions right before we opened Ernest. So I have to start working on one show before we even open the next show. And then throughout Ernest, I'm working on stuff for seasonal allergies. And so when we close the show, it's almost like, I don't know, like putting it to bed to get ready for it's kind of a springboard to the next show where it's, I've been putting this time and prep in for the next one. But there's a little bit of pride that goes into it as well, because it's almost like the show opens and I release my baby into the world where, by then the actors know what they're doing. I mean, Andy especially, but my stage manager knows what they're doing. And at that point, I'm no longer needed, where I'm there for support. I'm there to, for, you might call it quality control, because I come watch the show. But I'm just there to be a cheerleader at that point for them while I get the next one ready.
All right. I want to go back when you were talking about, different things that you do. and so forth. But you said you take copious notes. Handwritten?
It depends on the night. I found that typing is a little easier because I don't have to look. I can keep watching the show.
Right.
But I do like to move around a little bit during some rehearsals. So then I'll handwrite because then I can carry it with me.
And you can read your own writing?
No.
Oh. It's an interpretive thing afterward then, huh?
Oh, yeah. I a number of times a cast will be sitting there waiting and I'll start reading a note and I pause and I have to stare at it and stare at it. And then I'll read the whole thing, what I think it says. And then like Emily Sharp is great at interpreting what it actually, like if I say it out loud, she'll be like, well, did you mean this? I'm like, yes, thank you.
Who throws the best party, best cast party?
I got to go with the Sharps.
Yeah.
Well, because they do it for any show that either of them are involved in. They immediately say, we're going to have the cast party. Yep. And so they kind of got it down to a science. Aaron's got a full bar in the basement.
That he does.
It's a beautiful area. If it's nice out, they got the pool. And yeah, my kids love it because he's got the video game machine.
Oh, video game machine too. Yeah. But so, the pool table as well.
It's something where my kids will ask me if the party's at Aaron's, and I'm, be like, no, not for this one. He's not on the show. It's always like, okay. They always still have fun, but Jackson's been on a quest to beat Aaron's Frogger record.
Oh my!
Aaron actually holds that one on his machine, and so Jackson's been practicing and really wants to beat it.
Mm-hmm.
The last time we were over there, I think he played for at least an hour or two and couldn't quite get there, but. So yeah, he downloaded. He has a
lot of drive, doesn't he?
Very much. Yeah. when he decides he wants to do something, he will work and work and work until he can do it.
When are we going to see Juniper in a main stage production?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I don't know about a main stage production, but she held auditions last night for our becoming our annual Christmas Eve play. Last year we did The Grinch. And this year we're doing a scene from Every Christmas Story Ever Told, and then some, like we did last year in Old Town. But Junie had me run off some copies for auditions. She picked the scenes. She held auditions individually, and then paired people up to hear them together. Like she's going to be a director.
She's got the acumen down for it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, she's watched me do it for a while, and I think. By the second year of kids camp, she realized the director is the one who has the power. So that's right.
So that's what she wants to have. Yeah. Okay. Those kids are just amazing.
Yeah.
And you can tell them at Santa Claus had mentioned that too.
Will do.
Yeah. Still the greatest time I've ever had being Santa. Oh my goodness gracious. So you say this is a Christmas Eve play? Is it just family or what is this? You know?
It'll be just so like my immediate family, and then Dave and my parents and like my aunt and uncle, and so just a few of us there. And it was an idea she had last year because we always have a Christmas Eve together, and the kids get bored with us just sitting around talking and all that stuff. So she decided that what if we do this on Christmas Eve?
I love that. I actually did that when I was a kid. Somewhere we have the picture of me in red knit pajamas, and I actually used Elmer's glue and glued cotton balls on my face. And my dad had this cardboard looking fireplace that had at his office many times, but then it somehow ended up being at home. And I crawled through that to come out and give out presents. Yeah. So some people's creativity. The best part is I know you and Allison are not going to squash that.
No.
Yeah. You know, that when I used to be a professional clown, and a parent would go, "Oh, that's so embarrassing." It's like, no, it's creativity. Let them be. Let him be a child. That's what this time frame's all about.
Oh, yeah. Well, and Juniper is a force where I have to be careful. I'm not like where I not squash it, but let her know like when we're approaching boundaries that need to be kept. Because similar to Jackson, when she decides she wants to do something, she wants to do it. Like for SuperCon this last weekend, the weekend before, she decided she wanted to be Harley Quinn and that I needed to be Batman. So we had a week to put together costumes, and she towed that line of being insistent and just being like super cute and asking. So it's difficult for me to say, oh no, we don't have time or anything. So we put it all together, and we had our costumes. And her whole costume, she drew out in her notebook beforehand, and this is what she was going to do. This is what she wanted to do. And then I just helped her get everything together. And she did all she used markers, but did all the artwork and everything to get it all together. And
wow. So fun. Yeah. A great family life you have, my friend.
Oh, yes. I love
that.
it.
Yeah. So let's get on to just a couple more things. So The Importance of Being in Earnest is still playing this weekend, but not tonight. So you've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
All right. And then one more weekend? Or two more weekends?
Be one more weekend after this.
Okay, one more
weekend. We close on the
after
13th.
That. Okay, perfect. Yeah. And tickets available by going online, otdt.org.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for making that simple.
Well, for the longest time, it was oldtowntheater.org. And that was just the website. And I think it was Rob Simmerman. I don't know if you met Rob.
Yeah, I have.
But when he was our tech guy, he was like, I can make this easier. And we're like, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very well done. Like it. And just, in fact, I was mentioning that Carrie recently. I said, man, have you seen their website lately? Just is so much easier to get around, and, big and bright, and it's got things.
Well, that's Andy. Andy, the last couple of years, has been in charge of that. Real quick, Andy is almost become my partner out there. He stage manages most shows.
Right.
He's in the next one, but he's just a godsend. Like, I love the man as a person and as a collaborator. He's amazing to work with and has great ideas. It's something where I can't say enough good things about Andrew.
Yeah. All right. So as we come to the end of this conversation, of yet, I'm sure, many more, well, first of all, next week is our 250th anniversary of this show. I think you were on episode 2 or 3. Pretty early on.
It was pretty early on, yeah.
For the first time.
It was a very different setup.
Yes, it was. So we've progressed. What do you enjoy about this podcast?
I just enjoy being able to talk to you. And when I listen to it, I enjoy listening to you talk to people. It's such a great conversation where I feel like we could get rid of all the microphones and everything, and it'd still be just as enjoyable.
Yeah.
And almost like at times I'm listening to a private conversation that, like I said, it's just very, very natural, and like the type of thing that I like to listen to. Like if it was too, like rock jock morning DJ, I don't think I could be into it. Or, if there was too much, I don't know, takes to the audience, I guess. But like I said, it's just more of a nice conversation.
Oh, well, thank you.
Also, you have an amazing voice, so that's pleasant to listen to.
Well, I appreciate that as well. All right. So instead of the old traditional, what would you be doing? What do you like to be entertained by, etc.? What's the John J. Bow word for this year?
Word? Progression or progress.
Progress.
Say progress.
All right. That's a good word. No doubt about it. Always great, my friend. Thank you so much. Love to you and your family, and we will see you down at OTDT soon.
Excellent. Thank you,
right.
Dave.
Thank you. We'll be back to wrap up the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Check out the new ceramic studio in Sioux Falls, conveniently located off Kiwanis Avenue on 5th Street. TJS Ceramics, inside Oscar's Mini Storage. bisque, studio time, painting parties, and finished items are available. Visit TJS Ceramic Studio in Sioux Falls today.
Dr. Perry Langston and Dr. Corey Towne know excellence is in you. That's why they provide you with excellent care at XL Chiropractic, improving your overall health in spirit, body, mind, and will. Get results the natural way. Arrange a consultation. 605-332-9235 or xlchiros.com. Excellent care for excellent people. XL Chiropractic, located at 4309 South Racket Drive in Sioux Falls.
He's jazzed to the eyeballs. Once again, here's Dave Hawley. Crikey, mate.
Thanks again to my great guests, Matt Morrison and John Bowe. Equally as great, all of you. Thank you, longtime listeners, as well as those of you checking us out for the first time. Downloads, likes, shares, all make a difference. Never miss an episode, because all 249 are available anytime online at davehollyhour.com. Don't forget to use the search function for previous guests and topics. Next week, a special surprise for the 250th episode. Until then, as the Sioux Falls Arts Council says, together we art. As Arts South Dakota says, home is where the art is. As I say, put some art in your heart. Remember, my name is Dave Holly, and for me, every day is a holiday.
The Dave Holly Hour has been brought to you by TJS Ceramic Studio, Serendipity Studio Gallery and Gifts, Chasers Food and Spirits, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Jesse Moffitt Entertainment, and the Sioux Falls Arts Council. If you would like to contribute to the continued success of this podcast, simply buy Dave a cup of coffee. Go to davehollyhour.com and click on the coffee cup icon. Don't forget to stay up to date on the show by following on Instagram and Facebook. The Dave Holly Hour is produced in the Dipsy Doodle Studios by Big D Entertainment.
Thanks for listening.